Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How you guys doing? I thought this looked quite fascinating, and it's got a ton of views. Why the Netherlands is insanely well designed. I haven't reacted very much to the Netherlands, so I'm certainly interested to see how it's designed and why it's so insanely well designed. According to the OBF, link down below. Check them out. It's got a really good like ratio, tons of views. I'm very, very intrigued by this. Let's see.
This is a map of bike path density in Europe. All the purple lines are bike paths, and if you divide your
You know, I just bought a bike the other day and I'm pissed because I bought it without even looking up bike paths in my area. I just assumed it would work out, and it's kind of pissing me off. I'm just going to say that. Like, basically, I got to put that bike in my car and take it to a bike path. Let me just say that.
attention
It's fun, though.
to the left part of this map, you'll see a coastal country with a lot of purple lines. This is the Netherlands, a densely populated country that knows a thing or two about designing brilliant infrastructure. And the bike paths play a significant
My gosh, look at the amount of bikes.
role in that. See, with a
It's like a herd, a bike gang.
population of 17.4 million people and a landmass of approximately 41,500 square kilometers, the Netherlands is smaller in size yet more densely populated than most European countries. So, in order to navigate
You know what I'm sorry to interrupt randomly, but I just have to point out, I noticed that none of them are wearing helmets, which, I mean, is not a big deal. Like, I don't wear a helmet either, but I kind of stand out a little bit in that way. We're taught, like, if you're on a bike, you better be wearing a helmet. Okay. Now, I am not saying that every American riding a bike is wearing a helmet. Let me be clear. It's more like 60%.
So, in order to navigate that, they've come up with effective and interesting ways to handle population movement in and around their country. The most notable
And that's probably because a lot of people biking here in America the huge majority are doing it for sport. You know, they're going fast, they're going on a long trip, they're going on dangerous roads as well that are not like accustomed for bikes.
of which is, of course, the cycling infrastructure. And yes, it is as serious as everybody says it is, as it enables the 23 million bikes that are in the Netherlands to
I also noticed they're very like simple bikes. Like looks like they don't have gears.
roam the street.
Which I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen a bike in America without gears.
And by the way, 23 million bikes means that there are 1.3 bikes per capita.
What? So bikes to the Netherlands is like guns to America. Because we have more guns than people. You have more bikes than people.
That's absolutely insane. I mean, what would the bike per capita be in the United States?
I need to know.
Maybe 0.5? What? It's 0.3. That would mean if you met an American, there is a greater chance they're obese than them owning a bicycle. Mad.
Yeah, I would say if you meet an American, chances are they don't own a bike, which is stats obviously say that to be the case. You know, any random person probably doesn't own a bike unless they're like young. You know, it's definitely a mode of transportation for before you can drive a car.
Anyway, when you combine
Around the neighborhood and stuff.
the Netherlands bike infrastructure with its amazing public transport, you get a ridiculously smooth and efficient system. Here's how it works in Amsterdam. Commuters will use their bikes to get to and enter transit stations, where they simply park their bikes in these enormous bike parking garages.
God.
Then they'll travel on either a
Oh my God.
park their bikes in these
We can't just skim past this like it's nothing. I've never seen anything like that. So there's so many freaking bikes here. You'd be like, you better figure out where you parked it, because you'd be like, I don't remember where I parked my bike. Like, saying that here in America, it's like a funny concept. It'd be like, what do you mean? But in the Netherlands, it's like there's a million bikes, so you got to figure out where you park your freaking bike. Oh my God.
enormous bike parking garages. then they'll travel on either a bus, tram, or train to their final destination. But most of the time, the fastest and most convenient option is simply taking the bike to the final destination. But why is cycling the most convenient option? What has the Netherlands done for this to be the case? Well, the country has made cycling incredibly easy, with 32,000 kilometers of bike lanes that aren't just a small strip along a heavily trafficked road. Now,
you're really lucky to get that here in America, because I've been, especially, I mean, where I live. I can speak heavily to where I live because I've been, like I said, I just got a bike. So I've been looking for all the bike paths, and 9 out of 10 roads don't have any bike path. But the ones that do, usually just like, it's basically like a shoulder this big that's been labeled a bike path. Yay.
the Dutch do things differently. They have marked out red asphalt pavements like this strictly for cyclists. The only time cars and bikes end up on the same road is when the speed limit is less than 30 kilometers an hour and car volume is low. Any higher than that and there is a clear separation like this one, even on highways and roundabouts. But the Netherlands is a whole lot more than just biking and their capital city, Amsterdam. And to be honest, the most impressive infrastructure in the Netherlands is not even in Amsterdam. To see that, we have to go to Utrecht, a city that lies right here south of Amsterdam. It hosts the largest bike parking facility in the world. Room to park over 12,500 bicycles, and it has 24/7 camera surveillance. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. There's no way this can be
Why do none of these bikes have gears? I guess I gotta look it up, because that's just distracting me at this point. Why? I don't see a single one. I mean, I can imagine. If I had to guess, it's because you're not using them for sport. You know, they're set to a gear that like makes sense for city travel, and that's that. The country's mostly flat. That's actually a really good point, because obviously gears are extremely important when you're going uphill. You know, to really lower the gear to get up the hill. But if it's flat, then that does not matter. Okay, that's a great reason.
Replicated in other countries. This is alien-like. But that's a myth, and there's a very simple reason for that. Just take a look at Rotterdam. During World War II, the city was practically demolished and looked, well, like this. The Dutch had to rebuild everything. Public transportation.
I mean, this does make sense that it would have to be, it would almost have to be, although he's contradicting this point right here. I think he's saying Rotterdam upgraded to be a lot more bike friendly, but that is way harder than just building it to be bike friendly and pedestrian friendly to begin with, right? Like, I look around here in America and it's like kind of hopeless. It's like there's so much infrastructure built in such a way that it's not accommodating for bikes. You know, like ditches right next to the road. You know, there's no room to make a bike path.
Was then heavily invested in, and roads were rebuilt to facilitate bike lanes. If they choose to do so. But the determinism and people-centered planning of the Netherlands extends out of the cities and into Dutch suburbs as well. To bring this point home, let's compare typical Dutch suburbs to those in a state that's just as bustling and growing. In the United States, Florida. Now sure, Florida is 3.4 times larger than the Netherlands, but the argument—
Florida is 3.4 times larger, just Florida, than the Netherlands. Wow.
should still stand. So
I didn't realize that. Holy shit.
here is a typical Miami suburb. What do you notice? There's a lot of—
The houses are fucking huge. Oh my god. I don't know if that's typical, dude. I mean, okay. Okay, typical rich. Typical, maybe in the 90s this was typical, you know. Nowadays, those are literally $1 million houses. Or more. $2 million houses? $3 million? $4 million? Like, these are multi-million-dollar houses.
Greenery, but mostly there's a lot of roads and they're specifically made for cars.
But that might be just besides the point. Okay, yeah, they're made for cars.
Sure, there are sidewalks, but they are thin and can barely accommodate a cycler and pedestrian at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. You're not even... It's actually a confusing thing. Like, for me, I don't even know when it's acceptable, like socially acceptable for me to be on the sidewalk on a bike. Like, typically it's like bicycles stay in the road. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, you'll hear it both ways. People driving cars will say, get up on the sidewalk. People walking on the sidewalk will say, get in the road. So you can't win as a bike cyclist. But they are building new sidewalks here where I live, and they're wide. And it's freaking awesome. Now that I own a bike, I'm like, yes! Because you can actually ride a bike on it, and people like have room to walk past you, and you have room to go around people. Oh, it's great.
And now let's look at a Dutch suburb. The homes here are much smaller, and that's an important detail, as it leaves more space for communal centers like parks and proper biking and walking lanes separated from the road by greenery. I can definitely understand that it seems like a sacrifice to have smaller homes, but what you get in return is efficiency. And if time is the most valuable thing we have, then this system is superior. And while Dutch efficiency has become somewhat of a trademark for the country, things weren't always so blissful and enviable. You see, technically speaking, a large part of the Netherlands should not exist, and this is what amazes me the most.
Something I always think about, like as far as obviously this is more efficient and stuff, having smaller houses close together, attached even, but it's like it is a trade-off, and it's also important to recognize that it totally depends where you live, because like whether or not you're willing to make that trade-off. Like if you live in a place where there's lots of interesting things to do outside your house, then yeah, have a small house attached to other houses, small yard, who cares? But for instance, me, I live in bumfuck nowhere, basically. I want a sizable yard, and I want a reasonably big house, because there's not shit to do like without driving 40 minutes or more for me. So I kind of like the idea of having like a larger yard that I can go outside, with my kids and run around, or even ride like a four-wheeler around it or something. You know what I'm saying? Just playing a little devil's advocate. Obviously, this is way more efficient, but yes, of course.
Things weren't always so blissful and enviable. You see, technically speaking, a large part of the Netherlands should not exist, and this is what amazes me the most. See, the Netherlands was notorious for constant flooding thanks to its low elevation and closeness to the North Sea. But the Dutch have found a way to beat the ocean multiple times. This is the reason why nearly 20% of the land in the Netherlands is reclaimed land from the many marshes, swamps, lakes, and of course the sea. But how? Well, 2 words.
This is fast. I didn't expect it to take this turn. This is super interesting. I didn't know that was a thing.
Delta works. After a deadly storm in 1953 that covered over 150,000 hectares of land and took the lives of an estimated 2,000 people, the Dutch decided something had to be done. Delta Works was the answer. Delta Works is a vast network of 13 dams and barriers, featuring sluices, locks, dikes, and levees. They shelter off these 4 inlets, namely Haringvliet Dam, Broevers Dam, Worcester Shell.
I'm not gonna lie, right now I'm wondering if DYKES, what he just said, is like a slur in like British English or not, or in the rest of the world, because it is here. Anyway.
De Kering and Verzegatam. I'm sorry, Dutch people, I tried my best. Anyway, they used these to reduce the coastline by 700 kilometers and remove the need for smaller and weaker levees and dams that would require constant maintenance. Pretty ingenious, I gotta say. But the Dutch haven't just prevented floodings, they've also created new land, and they achieved this without using modern technology. How? Well, first they would section off the areas they wanted to reclaim. whereafter they would drain the water out by harvesting the energy of the wind using, of course, windmills. This created flat plains.
An actual windmill, not a wind turbine. Someone show this to Trump. To be honest, I used to mix those up as well and not know that there was a difference. But now I actually understand. There is actually a difference. So is this something we're going to have to like all start doing on all the coasts as the, you know, global warming and the ice caps melt and shit and flooding everywhere? We gotta take some notes.
Comprised of a very unique soil that happens to be perfect for growing tulips. And this is why the Netherlands account for 80% of the world's tulip exports.
That is the most beautiful farm I've ever seen in my life. That is stunning.
Which is kind of strange to think about. But today, these waters and innovations have earned the Netherlands some pretty envious titles, including the largest storm surge barrier in the world, that laid the ground for the largest and most efficient seaport in Europe, the port of Rotterdam. Located here in the delta of the Rhine and Meuse rivers, Rotterdam is in a perfect strategic location for ships coming from or going into the North Sea. To understand the sheer size of this port, here is a map of Manhattan laid on top. As you can see, the port of Rotterdam is about 1.5 times the size of Manhattan. It's huge, and with 82.5% of the Netherlands' GDP coming from
Manhattan is certainly not small.
Exports, it's fair to say that the port of Rotterdam is really important. I could go on and on about this port's efficiency, but all you need to know is that it wins best port infrastructure year after year. The Dutch are incredibly talented at designing great infrastructure. I mean, just look at the Amsterdam airport, Schiphol, the third busiest airport in Europe. It looks pretty average until you consider the number of people moving through this structure. Schiphol facilitates 68 to 80 million passengers annually to 332 direct destinations, utilizing its 6 runways facing multiple directions. Schiphol coordinates an average of 1,500 to 1,600 departures and landings per day, giving them an hourly average of 110 to 120 aircrafts.
2 aircrafts every minute?
And Schiphol accomplishes this despite being smaller than other major airports like Adolfo Suarez Madrid in Spain or the Leonardo da Vinci International Airport in Italy. The best thing about this airport though is that once passengers arrive, they have a number of transportation options, as the high-speed Thalys and Columbus trains can be accessed just beneath the terminal building.
Whoa.
From here, you can take a 15-minute
This feels very futuristic.
ride to the Amsterdam Central Station, or use the Dutch rail network to travel across the country. Honestly, you could get
I'll never get over how these incredible, like, bullet trains... I don't know if this is a bullet train, but they just have, like, regular windshield wipers. You can get it at freaking AutoZone for $12.
go anywhere from here. If
I mean, I don't know what else they would have, but it's just funny to me.
trains aren't your style, then the airport offers affordable express buses as well. The funny thing about this airport though is that it's 4 meters below sea level, sitting on what used to be Haarlem Lake. But all in all though, the Netherlands is an overload of intelligent design.
Damn, look how pretty.
And while some people might think it's nearly impossible to implement these methods into other countries, the reality is these methods can be replicated any place in the world if the people and leadership are willing to collaborate and listen to one another and invest in infrastructure that is people.
And if they want it. I mean, that's a key aspect here. Like, I mean, like, for instance, Americans would just be like, yeah, cool, no thanks. We like the cars.
Are willing to collaborate and listen to one another and invest in infrastructure that is people, environment, and future centered. Thank you.
I think it looks really fucking cool, though. I love riding my bike. You know? Like, as an American, I think you just lose sight of how pleasant it is to be outside with other human beings and feeling the wind in your hair, rather than stuck in your stale-ass car. It's a nice thing. Thank you so much for watching. That was fascinating. Go check out OBF. Sorry. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.